Wow, surrounded by runners. I think I'm going to change my thoughts for today. Run the race that is marked out for you and see what God will do with you. Good afternoon. It is really wonderful to be here with you. I do want to say thank you to President Pat Ferry and to your VP, Curtis Gilo, for inviting me to speak today. It is wonderful to be back. It's been a little while since I've been back here in Ann Arbor. Also, welcome to you family members, parents, grandparents. You have made this day possible in many ways for your kids, and also to you, the class of 2018 CUAA. Congratulations. Today is a wonderful day, but here's what I want to talk to you about today, because if you have learned anything for being at this university, you have learned something that you really cannot learn anywhere else. And that is, whatever you will face in life, whatever has been, whatever is now, and whatever is coming, by faith, the best is always yet to come. That's exciting to think about, engaging life with that kind of confidence. I love what you said already. How do I follow Stephanie? But that's the point. You have learned something here that you cannot learn anywhere else, and I want to talk to you about that, especially you parents who sacrificed to send your kids here. A word for today then comes from Philippians 4. It says this: "Finally, brothers and sisters, whatever is true, whatever is honorable, whatever is just, pure, lovely, commendable, if there is any excellence, if there's anything worthy of praise, think about these things." Or like your Bible verse says, write it down. Because He's the one who's transforming everything. Think about these things. And I would add to all of us today, and put them by faith to work. Put them to work. On a day like today, you get to think back of what you have learned. And when you come to a school like this, you've been taught, and I hope that you have learned, that what is most important in life is striving for the things that you ultimately wish to strive for, striving for excellence in the power of the superlatives of faith, directing all of your aspirations and all of your talents towards God by faith to give Him glory, and towards your neighbor in His name. In fact, what I think you've learned here, and I hope you have, is that you will give God the first and the last say in your life, in everything you do. Last week was Mother's Day. Welcome, mothers. And I heard this wonderful story about a mother who was trying to teach this to her children about what was the excellencies of life and what made life so unique by being a person of faith. And she came home one day and she noticed that the precious vase that was in the house was now laying on the floor in a million pieces. And she saw that there was a base or a bat, those plastic bats and the wiffle balls. You know what I'm talking about? The yellow ones? When they got the holes only on the bottom that can make the curve really go. And she noticed that the bat and the ball were right by the broken vase. So she lined up the three boys. And she was going to try to teach them the value of life, taking responsibility, etc. So she lined them up and she said, "Boys, does anyone want to say something to Mom about what happened here?" The boys looked at each other and, "Did any of you do something you weren't supposed to do?" "Not me, Mom. Not me, Mom." And so she got nothing out of the boys, and the rest of the afternoon she tried all these different psychological approaches. She got nothing from them on that kind of thing. So finally, at the very end, as she's putting the boys to bed, she's standing, remember when you were really in trouble and Mom was standing right by the light switch? And she was saying, "Now, boys, I'm about ready to go to sleep, and I'm going to pray to Jesus. And I'm going to ask Him who did what. Anybody ready to tell me what happened here today?" And after a long pause, the eldest boy came up and said, "Well, Mom, we'd like to hear what God says first." Now, that is not what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about letting God have that kind of say in your life. What you were taught here as graduates in this place is, by faith you celebrate today. You take up the challenges of tomorrow with the confidence of letting God have the first and the last say in your life, because that's what's going to make your life worth living now and forever. Now, here's another way of saying it. And I saw this, I had to go back into your archives a little bit of the Arbor Light, and it's in the words of, I think you guys know who I'm talking about, President Patrick Ferry. He said it this way. So what makes Concordia University uncommon, and I love this, the promise of God's grace in our lives brings hope for the ever after and meaning to the everyday. That's what I want to talk to you about, graduates here today. You've received something extraordinary here, something that you're privileged to put to work today, tomorrow, and forever. And before you get on with things, remember what it is that you have been given. So today you celebrate. And let me say this. I mean, they read my bio, but they forgot to say the stuff that really matters to me. I've been in ministry in a lot of strange and powerful places. New York City, South Central Los Angeles, finally now in Washington, D.C. But in all these places, I have seen the power of the gospel do its thing. In the neighborhoods of New York and in South Central L.A., on the radio ministries across the country, on the TV stuff we're doing with This Is the Life, in the halls of power on Wall Street, and now in the halls of power in D.C., this stuff still matters. This stuff still changes things. The power of your faith relationship with the God who loves you, redeemed you, and is now moving ahead of you with you in all that you do. It still works. And it's still what makes this world worth living in. So celebrate today. Celebrate that. You celebrate the memories of all the things you've done, all that's happened to you at Concordia University Ann Arbor, the games, the classes, the challenges, the ups, the downs, and now you celebrate. You graduate. But see, that's the point. You're celebrating what? You're graduating with the purpose of getting on with things. Every graduation, whether it's 12th grade, or whether it's university, whether it's graduate school, the next question is, what? Now what? What was this for? Well, it's to give you that excellence so you can get on with it, so that you can get after it, so that you can put these excellencies to work. After hearing about all this running, it kind of made me want to go do something. But it reminded me of the day. I used to play a lot of basketball back in the day. And it was really interesting. There were certain guys on the team I never understood. They were the guys that loved to practice. Now, I didn't mind practicing. I mean, you got to practice to be your best. But I wanted to practice to play the game, right? These guys were great in practice. They were phenomenal. But when the game came, they couldn't hit the broadside of a barn. They froze up. In fact, sometimes they didn't want to get in the game. They were just happy to be on the team. Well, that's to me like being a golfer who wants to just go to the range but never wants to play in the match. Well, if I understand the person who wrote this text that we're thinking about today, about thinking on these excellent things, I think what Paul is saying is, listen, celebrate this. Remember, you've been given these excellencies as a gift of grace by God who loves you, but then he wants you to celebrate these things with a get in the game, go for the gusto, dream big, plan hard, and even when you fail, get up and get after it again attitude. Not because of who you are, and not even because of what you have learned, but because of who he is for you and how much he loves you and will be there with you each and every step of the way. You get to face whatever comes tomorrow. Not only with your strength, not only with your knowledge, but not with a practice-only perspective of life. You get to face it with a game-on power that comes from the one who lived life excellently for you. So if you're going to celebrate today, let me remind you to celebrate that. Don't forget that. Now, as I was thinking about being here today, someone reminded me of when I was here. And I hate to admit this to you, but 40 years ago, next fall, I came to Ann Arbor. I didn't come here. I went to University of Michigan. I had a science scholarship to MSU, but who wants to go there? Sorry, Spartan. Sorry, I knew the green and white was ready to fight, but the red and white is here to take you on. Anyway, I had a science scholarship to MSU. I also had clept into this thing called the Iniflex program at Michigan. That's what I wanted to do. I was going to go to Michigan in the medical school, and I walked on the athletics, and that's what I had my life all planned out. But they started making fun of my faith in biology class, and I didn't like that. So I started raising my hands. I said, I understand the facts here, but I don't come with that conclusion. They started making fun of my faith in anthropology classes, so I started taking up the challenge. And then I saw this guy named Zimmerman, and he was on Good Morning America, and he was a professor here. And he was talking about creation and science and all these different things. And I said, I want to take classes over there. So I started driving here, taking night classes. And then eventually someone said, well, why don't you be a pastor? I had never thought about it. And so when I started to think back of what I got here, I started to think about my days in Michigan. I wanted to graduate. I wanted to be a Wolverine. And then I started to think about they have things that we don't have. They got a bigger stadium than you. I hate to tell you that. I know that, they got more buildings than you. They might even have some more programs than you. And I know, unfortunately, they got a little more cash than you, but we're working on that. We'll catch up sooner or later. But here's what they cannot give you. Here's what they don't have there. They do not have a faith that drives excellence. They don't talk about faith that drives knowledge. They don't talk about faith that tempers and directs technology, wealth, and even freedom. And they don't talk about faith that motivates service. They don't talk that way. That's the Concordia experience. That's the experience you get here. They can strive for excellence, but only for excellence' sake. Here you can strive for excellence that gives God glory and serves your neighbor in His name. That's a now and forever thing. That's power for ever after and meaning for every day. So if you've striven for excellence these last 4 years, get on with it. And if you didn't, you can start now because you got the rest of your life to be this kind of person in Him for others. So celebrate today. Celebrate and remember what you've uniquely received because you are going to need it. The world is a tough place, and I don't think it's going to get any easier, but it's always been a bit of a tough place. I love this quote that I saw for today. It said, the paradox of our time in history is that we have taller buildings and shorter tempers, wider freeways but narrower viewpoints. We spend more but have less. We buy more but enjoy it less. We have many conveniences but less time. We have more knowledge but less judgment, more experts but still more problems, more medicine but less wellness. We've multiplied our possessions but reduced our values. We talk too much. We love too seldom and hate too often. These are the times of tall men and women who are short on character. It's a time when there is much in the show window and nothing in the stockroom. Well, I think when you understand who Christ is, when you understand who God is, who sent His Son so that you might live, you've got plenty in the stockroom and even more to share in the life God has given you to live. So don't just celebrate this excellence, put this excellence to work. This message still rings true out there, even as it rings true in our heart. So I tell you today, now is the time. Now is the time to live what you have learned. Now is the time to lead the way, not to merely follow. And now is the time to put what you have learned to work, to strive for excellence continually, but to give Him glory and to serve the neighbor that He brings into your path. In closing, then, I'd like to quote a famous theologian, if I might, to kind of send you on your way. His name, are you ready? Denzel Washington. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah, I love Denzel. His church was right around the corner from our church in South Central. He goes to West Angeles Church, and if there is a man of character in Hollywood left, he's probably one of them. But listen to what he said, because I think he kind of encapsulates what I've been trying to share with all of you today. He says this. This was to the 2015 graduating class at Dillard University. Number one, he said, and probably number two, number three, and number five. Number one, put God first in everything. Put God first in everything. He said success is not the most important thing. With God first, he said, I've been protected, I've been directed, I've been corrected. I've kept God in my life, and it's kept me humble. I didn't always stick with Him, he said, but He always stuck with me. And then he went on to say, strive for excellence. Don't worry about failure. And then he said, but do it with the mindset of faith, because whatever life brings, you can face it with confidence and with boldness in Him. And all I want to tell you is write it down think about these things and put it to work. Because with faith in Him, you can celebrate today and you can build on it. With faith in Him, you can become the young man or woman that Christ Himself wants you to be. And with faith in Him, and I'm going to say this and I hope you hear what I'm saying, you can dream bigger than you can actually do. Because you can make a difference in this world as it is, because you know where the true solutions lie. That's what faith brings to you and to me. So no matter what life is like today, and I don't know really what you're all feeling today. It could be a day of cheers. It could be a day of tears. It could be a day of fears, for all I know. Well, all I want to share with you is this. Never forget the grace you've been given here at CUAA. Remember the power of faith for life ahead, and keep firmly in your mind that by faith, no matter the circumstance of the day, the best is yet to come. So to the class of CUAA 2018, write these things down. Think on these things. And by faith, put them to work. God bless you. Congratulations.
Dr. Seltz, what a powerful message, and we thank you for sharing it here at your alma mater today. And Gregory Seltz, based upon the recommendation of our faculty and by the authority vested in me by the Board of Regents of Concordia University, I'm now very pleased to confer upon you an honorary Doctor of Divinity degree with all of the rights and privileges and responsibilities thereunto appertaining. And as a symbol of your honor and achievement, I will present you with this diploma and with this hood.